All right, today, me and accountant slash comedian Naeem Ali discuss money laundering in Ozark, The Wire, Narcos, and Breaking Bad. We talk about how criminals try to launder both money and themselves. And we'll also highlight the conditional tense, as in, what would you do if you found a bag of $1 million lying on the sidewalk? But first, like any good English lesson, we start with a dialogue. And like any rap album from the 90s, we start with a dialogue from a crime movie. This is Ozark.
Is this how you do it?
It's part of it.
Could you explain all of it?
Okay. Money laundering 101. Let's start with this. Let's say you come across a suitcase with $5 million in it. What would you buy? Sports car, yacht, a mansion? Too bad the IRS won't let you buy anything of value.
Yeah, you got fat shoes. Yeah, you got nasty boots. Y'all got cocaine eyes. Yeah, you got sleepy giant. Get him and knocking on the window. Get him and knocking on your door.
All right, that was a scene from, I think, the second season of Ozark. And we'll be talking about that today with comedian slash accountant Naeem Ali. What's up, Naeem?
Hey, what's good, Brandon? How you feeling?
I'm doing good, man. You know, the Sixers is bumming, but we'll deal with it.
Right, we're
Yeah.
gonna have a night off here and there.
Yeah. But on the subject of Ozark, I know you've seen the show. I just
Great show.
rewatched the first two seasons. I can't watch the third season again. That brother drives me crazy.
Yeah, he's ruining everything.
He's too much. But so based on that question, since you are an accountant, I wanted to ask you a question. What would you do if you were approached by drug traffickers or criminals who wanted you to help them launder money?
Okay, well, first, and this is just, hypothetical. This has nothing to do with real life. So the first thing I would do is I would try to get them to start either a nonprofit, basically something that's going to give back to the community or something like that. So that way you can have fundraisers.
All right.
And then, with those fundraisers, you can say people donated however much money that you want. And then what you actually would do is you pay the people whose names you're going to use to say that they donated this amount of money. And these people will also have to have, they also have to be not wealthy, but they would have to have some type of good income where you could write that, this person donated 15,000 or 10,000. Or honestly, I would try to keep it under 10,000. Keep it under 10 so that the IRS don't, be looking at your bank accounts too much.
I like how you were quick to preface this to as not incriminate yourself. Very smart.
You never know what the future can hold.
Yeah.
I might have some cartel members come to me in a couple years.
You'd be like, I didn't say that. I didn't say that.
Shit.
So if you listen to the question I asked you, I said, what would you do if, using the conditional with would and if. And
Yes.
So conditional is good for talking about making decisions. What
sure.
decisions would you make in certain situations, that's something we always, when I was working with teenagers, that was something I would talk to them about all the time. It's
Right.
like, here's the decisions. What do you do in this situation? Because they would just do things.
Yeah.
They would
right.
just jump off, and it was just, you had to.
Yeah, no forethought and a little bit of afterthought.
Yeah, it's like, why'd you do that? I don't know why I did that. Like, they have no idea.
It's all reaction.
So the second question I was going to ask, so he says in the dialogue, Jason Bateman's character, he says, say you found a bag of money. What would you buy with it? And then he says, you can't buy anything with it. because
Nothing.
IRS is going to come after you.
Yeah, 100%.
So these all really good examples of the conditional, and I got you gave me some good feedback here based on your background as an accountant. So I wanted to ask you a little bit about that. So, what made you want to be an accountant?
Well, honestly, I didn't know what I wanted to major in. It was actually on a suggestion of my uncle. Shout out to Uncle Tony. My Uncle Tony asked me what I was going to major in. I went to college, and I always was just into like art. Like I used to draw. I was into like editing videos, and like I was always into that kind of stuff. But I went to college in like 2005. So at that point in time, he was like, "Yo, there's no money in art. Like, what do you want to do in art? You can't make any money drawing pictures or making paintings. Artists only make money after they're dead. So you got to figure something out." And he's like, "You always was good at math. Math always came real easy to you. Why don't you try being an accountant? You know, you can get, at least that way you can sustain a life, and then you can figure out whatever you want to do artistically later on." Right. And that was good advice. I think that was sound advice. I mean, I wouldn't give that advice to my kids. Yeah. Seeing as now how, social media, you can make a ton of money with art.
Yeah.
So,
you can make a ton of money with nonsense.
Got into that.
All right. That's good. All right. So do you enjoy accounting?
I wouldn't say enjoy, I deal with it. I mean, it's okay.
I could never deal with it. I'm really bad at details. I'm very general. I make mistakes. Really? Yeah. I actually just quit a job because they kept giving me shit about my timesheets. And I was like, I don't want to continue to have this conversation. Like, I'm done. I can see that this is...
for you to quit right there?
I mean, I gave them a month's notice. But I was like, I said, we're going to have to work on my transition because I don't want to hear about these timesheets no more. Like, I was done having this conversation. Like, I don't care. And I could tell that they really care. There's just too much of a gap about, what we care about. And I was like, I don't want to talk about this anymore.
Right.
So have you always wanted to be a comedian, or is that something that happened after accounting?
No, that was new. That was something that, if I really look at my life in retrospect, I guess it was bound to happen eventually. I mean, from the time I was 4 or 5 years old, my mom always loved stand-up. She let me watch stand-up specials with her. Like, I think she used to always like to watch, there was these, it was this stand-up fundraiser that Whoopi Goldberg and Robin Williams.
Oh, yeah, for the homeless?
Yeah, yep.
Yeah, that thing was wild back then.
She always let me watch that every year. I forget what it was called, though. Whatever it was called.
Something, comics for Laughs for Hunger. I don't know. But
was it Comic Relief?
Comic Relief, yeah, it was Comic Relief, yeah.
Comic Relief.
It was Billy Crystal.
I've been watching that. Yeah, yep. I was watching that from the time I was probably 4 or 5. And then I think after that, she let me watch like Raw and like, what's his name? George Carlin.
Yeah.
So, but I always just looked at it like, yo, these people are nuts. Like, how can you even have the heart to get up on stage and do something like that?
That was the way I looked at it. I was like, I can't, like, I grew up like watching like Steve Harvey and Chris Rock and Bernie Mac, and so I was like, I'm not that kind of person. So I was like, I don't know how.
Right, yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah. So I had to like see more and more comedy before I felt like, oh, there are people who communicate the way I do that do comedy differently. But I didn't know about that when I was a kid. I just saw Chris Rock jumping around on the stage in a big ass leather jacket, motherfucker, like a machine gun. I was like, I don't do that.
Yeah, right.
Like when I was funny as a kid, I would just I'd be sitting in the back of the room and I would just wait for the perfect time to say something. That was my funny. I was not rambunctious.
Just interject with perfect timing.
Yeah, it was all about timing, real subtle shit. So that's good. When did you? Because I just met you like in the last couple of years. When did you start doing comedy?
Yeah, I started like 2 years ago.
Just like right before the pandemic. I feel so bad for the people that started comedy.
Sucks,
right at the pandemic. It's like, what are you gonna do?
Yeah, like I started. Matter of fact, I started November 2018. I started, and the first time I ever did a open mic was at Helium.
Oh damn! I didn't get into Helium for like 2 years. I was like scared to go in there. I was like intimidated. I know now there's just like an Applebee's with jokes, but at the time, I thought it was like something special.
Right. You see, the thing is, I'm a damn dummy, so I didn't know. I just Googled. So what happened was people at my job, the last 3 jobs I had, people were saying like, "Yo, you never tried to do stand up? Like, you funny, you got funny stories, you got a weird ass life, you got a weird ass outlook. Why don't you ever do stand up?" I'm like, I'm not a clown. Like, that's not what I do.
Yeah.
I just talk to people at work. And y'all think I'm funny. So then, one day, a close friend of mine had passed away, and he used to always say it. So I was like, you know what, man? He was very funny himself, and I was like, I'm gonna try it. So I just Googled how to do comedy, and then it said do open mics. Then I Googled open mics Philly, and the first thing that popped up was Helium, and I sent them the email, and then they emailed me back, and boom, I was in there. And then I did good. I did well my first time on stage. I was like, all right, this must be my thing.
First time I did Helium was Philly's Funniest, and I was like blacked out drunk on stage.
Oh hell yeah, that's how you do it.
I was killing too. Until I forgot where I was. I was killing for like 3 minutes. Then I lost track of what was going on. Godfrey was there for some reason, and he was laughing in the back. So I was like, hey, I'm funny, and then I lost consciousness.
Godfrey was there?
Yeah, because he had broken his foot at the time, so he had did a show at 8 o'clock, and then the contest was at 10 o'clock. So because his foot was broke, he couldn't really go nowhere. So he just stayed and watched. He just stayed and watched the contest. It was like the first round too.
Yeah. Oh man.
You know the first round Philly's funny. People show up, ain't never done comedy in their life.
Right, but they just
and they're like, I'm gonna win this. I'm Philly's funniest. Random. It's wild.
No written jokes or anything. Just trying what works best.
All right. So I kind of talked about a little bit earlier about the conditional tense. I don't know how much you know about grammar. Do you know what I mean by that?
Yeah, I know what conditional tense is.
Yeah.
I know a little. I went to Catholic school, so
okay.
I got a good background in grammar.
I got you. So yeah, the conditional is about situations and the decisions you make in those situations, and I think that's a big theme of crime movies, and especially Ozark. There's like a whole soliloquy that he gives to Jason Bateman's character about decisions, and that's what matters.
And money is the measure of decisions.
Yeah.
And I love that whole speech he gave.
Yeah, the monologue. Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, that whole monologue is it's like a perfect description of life and money.
Yeah, it's crazy. I had to listen to it a couple times because it was really deep. But when I rewatched Ozark, because every time I want to do an episode, I want to do a certain topic in crime. And I was like, money laundering. I know Naeem is accountant. We can talk about that. But I was like, what is the language here? And I quickly, while reaching, I heard all the conditional, picked it up. In my job, that's all I do is I listen to stuff and try to find out what grammar is being used in that context. And I actually found this really cool worksheet. I had to pay for it. It was like $3. Yeah. But it's a really good worksheet. I don't have a class I could teach with unless I actually ever end up teaching criminals.
Right. That'd be a fun class.
Yeah. If you had
to launder money.
Yeah. I guess if you had to teach an accounting class for criminals, what would you teach?
Yeah, I think I would. I think I could teach a money laundering class. I'm pretty sure I could do that. Like or you know what? Or I would just teach a class on. Maybe I would teach a class on what are the best front businesses. And then, so it's like an intro to money laundering, and then you can take money laundering 102 with some other guy that's actually
you're gonna teach the basic class. I hate teaching basic. I'm too advanced as a teacher. All my classes are level 6. So yeah, I found this worksheet on the conditional, and so they've got some vocabulary in here for about money laundering. The word notorious keeps coming up, which I'll get back into that later. But I also found this question here. This is activity. It says choose the correct definition of a noun. Right. And it says, police have discovered that the local strip club is actually an illegal brothel, which I think that was one of the B stories of The Wire. Remember the Barksdale
Yeah, for
had the
sure.
strip club?
Yeah.
And so they were laundering money for there. So it was like you were saying, like, what was it? You said a charity would be a good
A
place to
charity.
launder
Yeah,
money.
anything cash based. Anything that's cash
yeah.
based is what you want.
Strip clubs, casinos, and we'll talk about that too. But I wanted to
Yeah.
talk about this strip club thing because it reminded me of a story that I heard before, and I have a question based on that story. So this is the question I'm going to put to you. If you fell and hurt yourself in a strip club, would you sue that strip club?
If I fell and hurt myself, well, I'm not really a litigation type of guy, but let's just say I was, then yeah, I would sue 'em. I'm suing this strip club because if it's a legal strip club and
Yeah.
and they've been open and they're in the neighborhood where I know this isn't just some damn speakeasy strip club, then yeah, I'm suing them because they probably got license and insurance. So it's not even like they're paying; their insurance is gonna pay.
That's interesting answer because you feel like you're on the up and up, they're on the up and up, then we can do this straight.
We can do this.
But I feel like some people would be like, they probably get one of the bouncers to like carry them and put them somewhere else and say they fell there. They don't want this coming back because a lawsuit that take a couple years. It's hard to keep that secret.
That's true. That's 100% true.
Right? How you tell your wife that? All right.
Take a couple years.
Listen, I've been suing this strip club for about 6 months. I just got the settlement. I'm gonna take you out for steak. Like that's. You wait till you get the money to break it to her. But
right.
But that's the interesting question because it's like if you're on the up and up and you're not embarrassed about being in the strip club, then you do whatever you want.
Exactly.
And this reminded me of a story. So I told you I used to be an Uber driver.
Yeah.
And so people would tell me crazy stories. And this one woman, I think she was like a paralegal or a court typist or something, and she was telling me the stories. She's like, "Yeah, I was doing this deposition. They brought this guy in for a deposition. He was suing a strip club, and he was suing a strip club because one of the strippers stabbed him in the neck with a broken bottle."
What?
And so I was like, they don't just do that. There's a story like
Right, like what happened before she
like that's not good for business. Strippers don't just stab people willy nilly. Like,
yeah,
what was going on?
Getting their asses smacked when they walking around.
Yeah.
So something had to go wrong.
So they brought him in for the deposition, and they were like, what were you doing in this strip club when you got stabbed? And he was like, I was just minding my own business. And they were like, that's impossible. Like, you can't. That's not how a strip club works.
Right.
They're like, what are you talking about? And so they kept asking them questions. So they were like, well, listen, this is what they do in the deposition. They try to catch you on your bullshit to get you to give up.
Exactly.
Before, they find out something that you don't really want to talk about, or they get you to contradict yourself, and they say, why don't you just get the hell out of here? You're not suing nobody.
Right.
So they had the ammo on them. They say, okay, well, we found out that the reason that you hang out in this strip club all the time is because you sell PCP there.
Oh.
And he was like, yeah.
What?
He's like, I sell PCP in a lot of strip clubs. You trying to make it sound like I'm only selling PCP in this one strip club. He was like offended. Trying to make him sound like he was five and diamond.
Who do you think I am?
Yeah, so they were like, are you serious right now? He's like, you can't. Like, imagine him telling this, him getting stabbed. He's like holding his neck, and he's like, I'm suing y'all. They were like, you can't sue us. You sell PCP here.
Right.
You're our PCP dealer. We take a 10% cut. It's like a criminal conspiracy.
Yeah, like what are you doing?
This motherfucker was delusional.
Yo, what? But I've heard a lot of stories like that.
Yeah?
Where criminals, they get beat in some type of criminal activity, and then they want to involve the law. And it's like, hold up. Everything you're doing is illegal.
Yeah.
You can't now want the police to fix your problem. Like, what are you doing?
That's the thing. It's like anything you do illegally, you make illegally, can be taken away from you. And you got no proper
100%.
recourse to do anything about it except, go get your gun.
Yeah, that's it. Unless you down with like some type of mob crew.
Yeah, if you're an organized crime.
Right.
But then you only got recourse when you're dealing with people that are lesser than you.
100%. Because if it's you're dealing with somebody else that's also with a crew or they in organized crime, a lot of times to prevent a war, the people that are above you in your gang will be like, yo, no, just chill out. Let that one slide.
Just let it slide.
We don't need this to go too far.
All right. That's good. So, because this kept making me think, because I also found a lesson plan for the conditional for English on English First that was about the conditional and crazy lawsuits.
Right.
And so it's like, where is this? I'm at the wrong thing. I got to go to the Padlet.
The funny thing about the conditional is that some languages don't even have that.
Really?
Yeah, like some languages don't have woulda, coulda, shoulda.
You know the example?
It's two African languages. I don't know exactly which one. I don't know if it's Swahili. It's two African languages for sure. I used to work with this African guy named Otis, and he was talking about how a big part of the problem with Western society is that we divide real life into these imaginary scenarios. Like, we don't talk about what we've done. We talk about what we would have done or we could have done, rather than just focusing on this is what it is. And I remember asking him, like, well, if y'all don't have that, then how do you base your life off of making a better decision? And he was like, you are a fuck up, for a worse word, or you aren't. Like, it's not think of what you could have been or what you should have been.
Sound like Calvinism. These people don't got no ambition. like for real.
Right, like you just stuck being.
It's crazy where you like. They got so many languages in Africa too. They be like, I gotta get the come up. You know, I gotta start speaking Kachaka or something, because my language we can't even imagine success.
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah, I gotta switch it up. I gotta start speaking French now.
That's good. All right, so I was talking about The Wire, and
another one of my favorites.
Talking about them. First, it gets on two of the subjects that we're talking about. There's money laundering, you know, organized criminal organizations, strip clubs, right? They have a strip club. And then also this idea of if you're a criminal, you know, you can't get any legal recourse for any wrongs done to you. You just got to either take it on the chin or you got to blow things out of proportion.
Right, for sure.
So I'm going to play a scene from The Wire that kind of illustrates. You'll probably recognize this scene. It's one of my favorite scenes.
I need you to hit somebody.
Who we hitting?
Clay Davis.
The Clay Davis? Downtown Clay Davis?
That's supposed to mean something to me, man. That nigga need to be got.
Shit, straight murder ain't no thing. But this here's some assassination shit.
I tell you getting somebody, you getting them. I ain't asking.
Damn, String, I don't know.
Nigga, I gotta remind who the fuck you work for. Hey, I think Slim gonna have to sit this one out, boss. So you finna go hit a state senator now, huh? Yo, you kill a downtown nigga like that, the whole world gonna stand up and take notice. I'm talking about the state police, federals, all of that. You need a dead jackal type motherfucker basically to do some shit like that, not a rumble tumble nigga like Slim. That nigga took our money, man. I seen it coming. Well, you gotta go. Nah, you a fucking businessman. You wanna handle it like that. You don't wanna get all gangsta wild with it and shit, right? What'd I tell you about playing them fucking away games?
Dude, I love that Baltimore talk. They talk crazy. I love that. He's like, what'd I tell you about playing them away games?
Playing them away games.
Brilliant.
Right.
So Stringer came back from his road trip and he had a losing streak.
Yeah, he did.
Now he want to hire a hit squad on the Denver Nuggets because they dropped.
Because he got beat.
But I love that, you know, this is what I was thinking about money laundering, is that you're not just trying to launder money. Sometimes you're trying to launder yourself.
Yeah, for sure. If you smart.
Yeah. That's Stringer's like whole outlook on life, where he's just like, if I get enough of this money and I can clean it and I can use it for influence, then I can be a part of, decent society, and they'll have to accept me. It won't have a choice.
Right. I mean, and that's the thing. I think any smart criminal is looking for an exit plan. Because you can't just continue to be a drug dealer or a hitman for hire, whatever you're doing. You can't continue to walk that path. And even when you look at like a lot of different like criminal organizations from like back in the early 1900s, right? So, the Jews had a mafia, Italians, but if you realize where they switched it up is with their next generation, even if they couldn't get out personally, like an individual, their kids were going to college and becoming doctors, lawyers. You see what I'm saying? Like, it was a thing where like they paid for a life where at least the next generations wouldn't have to be stuck in that same thing. And I think the difference between, not to turn this into a cultural thing, but I think the difference between black criminals and these other races is that it's made to seem cool to our people. Like, oh no, yeah, just be a criminal. Your dad was a drug dealer, you should be a drug dealer too. Your dad was a killer, you should be a killer too. Like, it's a thing where it's not. There's no plan for us to progress from that. It's just, all right, this is what's hit. Is to be a street guy. You see what I'm saying? Whereas with these other guys, it was a graduation from that. Like, oh yeah, my dad might have been in the mob, but I'm a doctor. Like,
this is my thoughts on this. I don't have an exact response to what you're saying, but I do have an example. So if you look at the contrast between Stringer and Avon, Stringer wants to clean up and get out. His glory is to become clean and legitimate. Right. But Avon don't want none of this. As he says, he's a rough and tumble dude. Yeah. Right? He loves the glory of the streets. You know how he gets like really irritated about his name, people talking about his name in the streets. Like, that's what matters to him. And I think for some people that are in that life, that's the easiest, kind of most acceptable glory that you can get in the space that you're already in. So it's like, why would I want to have to go seek glory in somebody else's world when I can get it here in my world with my people that I understand and love me? Right.
Yeah, you have to learn a whole new game. Yeah. To bring it back a little bit. You got to learn new rules now.
Yeah. And it's like, it's exhausting if you you're really code switching, if you're from the hood and you're trying to make it in that way. I'm not from the hood, so I don't know, but
it seems like it is exhausting.
Yeah.
But you know what I was thinking though? I was thinking like, so with and that's the thing. I think you can extrapolate this to everything in life too. Anything you start out doing, you're gonna suck at it at first. So starting out in the street, sucking at that for how many years, you getting beat up or robbed or learning the game, or people just getting over on you. That's a badge of honor to a lot of guys. You see what I'm saying? Like, I done did 15, 20 years learning this game, and now I mastered it. You see what I'm saying? So it's the same thing as if you wanted to switch professions after that long. Like, all right, I went to college for this. I got my doctorate in this. And then now you telling me I should switch and do this whole other thing? Like, nah. Why would I even try that? So I think you can use that example with anything in life. That's like if I told you now, like, yo, Brandon, why don't you fucking quit being a teacher and become an MMA fighter? That's going to take years to master that, if you ever could master.
Yeah. Well, I teach adults, and then, like, every time, I try to go work with children, I'm just like, I don't want this glory. Like, I don't like being in kids' worlds. I don't like being surrounded by them. I don't like feeling the negative energy that's coming out of them. So it's like, I like working with adults. I like the rewarding. I feel that's rewarding for me because I feel like they can appreciate it in the moment.
Yeah, I get that.
Where children are like on a delay. Appreciation come like 5 years later. They come visit you at your retirement party. You was right, Miss Hawthorne, or some bullshit.
Right. You was like my favorite teacher. He's like, damn, why you say that when you was in my class?
What I was also thinking of was Paid in Full.
Yeah.
That speech that Mekhi Phifer does is Money Mitch, where he's like, what if the streets don't love me no more?
Ooh, right.
Like, he really needed that love and respect from the streets. That's what he was really doing it for.
Yeah, I mean, that's all you get. You don't get no retirement plan.
No.
I mean, what else you gonna get from that? Love, respect, and fear. That's about all you gonna get.
All right, so back on the subject of laundering, we're talking about laundering identities. I found this concept in a couple different films, and I really noticed it in the intro to Casino.
Who could resist? Anywhere else in the country, I was a bookie, a gambler, always looking over my shoulder, hassled by cops day and night. But here, I'm Mr. Rothstein. I'm not only legitimate, but running a casino. And that's like selling people dreams for cash. For guys like me, Las Vegas washes away your sins. It's like a morality car wash. It does for us what Lourdes does for humpbacks and cripples. And along with making us legit comes cash. Tons of it. I mean, what do you think we're doing out here in the middle of the desert? It's all this money. This is the end result of all the bright lights and the comp trips, of all the champagne and free hotel suites, and all the broads and all the booze. It's all been arranged just for us to get your money. That's the truth about Las Vegas.
So you can hear in the beginning there, he says something that Las Vegas was able to do for him what Stringer wanted, right?
Right.
He said, anywhere else in the country, I'm a criminal. But here in Las Vegas, I'm Mr. Rothstein. It washes away his sins. So he's able to launder himself, his own identity.
For sure.
Momentarily, obviously, if it happens to all these people, everything kind of falls apart. Right. That's what makes the movies interesting.
Exactly.
But yeah, is that.
It's the, and I mean, it's one of those things, because, in Vegas, they don't care how you got your money. They just want to take it from you. They don't care how you, what's crazy? It just came to my head. Jay-Z has a song on Reasonable Doubt. He says, I'm taking wages down to Vegas just in case Tyson have a major night off. That's clean money, the tax write-off. And it's a thing where I think every criminal does it. Even some criminals that I know will take trips to Vegas and go there for a week,
And they just lose and then write it off?
Yeah. They'll lose it, write it off, or they'll win, and then they can say that they won more than they actually won. You see what I'm saying? So it's a thing where
they got to slip.
I think that's just something a lot of people do.
Interesting. So yeah, casinos, strip clubs, laundromats. We talked about that. So yeah, on the subject of laundromats,
event planning. You could be an event planner.
Yeah,
you could say that you help people throw parties and you set up, the tables and the balloons, and you rent this stuff out, and
anything where you can just create invoices and make shit up. Interesting. So on this subject of businesses that you can use to launder money, there's a reason why it's called money laundering. Not just because you're cleaning money. There's a little I have a little clip here that kind of explains it.
The nearly $100 million a year, that's $1.4 billion in today's currency, that Capone had earned from illegal gambling, bootlegging, brothels, and extortion would have served as evidence of his crimes. But the money was nowhere to be found. Capone and his associates had hidden it through investments in various businesses whose ultimate ownership couldn't be proven, like cash-only laundromats. In fact, those laundromats are part of the reason for the name of this activity, money laundering.
I was watching some show or some movie, and they were like, the guy had like an accountant or a lawyer, and he's like, you should open a laundromat. And he's like, why would I do that? And then he like realized, like, oh, that's why they call it money laundering. But I cannot remember what this damn show was.
Dang, was it Power? Because remember on Power, he opened the laundromat.
I don't even remember that.
Remember they had and they were actually, because remember they would actually take the cash in there in the big laundry duffel bags on Power. That's why I don't like that show. Power is way too...
It don't make no sense.
Yeah, it makes no sense, and everything is just so blatant. Like, yo, it's not even realistic.
Yeah, that show.
You gonna carry the money in through the front door in laundry bags with a bunch of gangster-looking guys with wearing all black? Like, it don't make no sense.
Yeah, that show was all flash.
It was all flash. It was like one big music video, like a long-ass music video.
It wasn't as bad as Empire was about it, but they're pretty bad.
Yeah, Empire sucked. But at least Empire came on, like, network TV.
Yeah. I had to stop watching. It just irritated the shit out of me. And I just couldn't buy...
I made it through 2 seasons of Empire, and then I was done.
Yeah. So, on this next clip is from the same little documentary. It's from TED Talks Education. And here they kind of explain the steps of money laundering. And so listen to this and tell me if you think this is accurate and what your response to it is.
Okay.
Money laundering came to be the term for any process that cleans illegally obtained funds of their dirty criminal origins, allowing them to be used within the legal economy. But Capone wasn't the first to launder money. In fact, this practice is about as old as money itself. Merchants hid their riches from tax collectors, and pirates sought to sell their bounty without drawing attention to how they got it. With the recent arrival of virtual currencies, offshore banking, the dark net, and global markets, schemes have become much more complex. Although modern money laundering methods vary greatly, most share 3 basic steps: placement, layering, and integration. Placement is where illegally obtained money is converted into assets that seem legitimate. That's often done by depositing funds into a bank account registered to an anonymous corporation or a professional middleman. This step is where criminals are often most vulnerable to detection, since they introduce massive wealth into the financial system seemingly out of nowhere. The second step, layering, involves using multiple transactions to further distance the funds from their origin. This can take the form of transfers between multiple accounts or the purchase of tradable property like expensive cars, artwork, and real estate. Casinos, where large sums of money change hands every second, are also popular venues for layering. A money launderer may have their gambling balance made available at a casino chain's locations in other countries or work with employees to rig games. The last step, integration, allows clean money to re-enter the mainstream economy and to benefit the original criminal. They might invest it into a legal business, claim payment by producing fake invoices, or even start a bogus charity, placing themselves on the board of directors with an exorbitant salary.
So you said that about the charities at the beginning. So that did fit in there. You have any response to anything you heard there? Did it make sense?
Yeah, that all makes sense. And like, I think the part that stuck out to me the most was one of the first things he said, where it's been around since almost the beginning of money itself.
Yeah.
And even when you think about the origin of money and banking, it's actually a Ponzi scheme. It's actually a scheme where banking is basically taking people's money, especially when it first started, but it's the same thing now. You're taking people's money and then you're loaning it out to gain back interest. But in all actuality, banks lose billions of dollars on a lot of these loans. They don't make the money back. Mm-hmm. So what they're actually doing is they're taking your money, making money off of your money, and they don't even have your money anymore. They don't even have it anymore. And then on top of that, you only get a small percentage of the money they're making back on the interest they're charging other people. It's a huge Ponzi scheme with banking. And that in itself is kind of like laundering money, because you're stealing, then you're losing these people's money, then you're charging people.
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy. It's nuts.
There's this comedian in Delaware who, like, he's always running some type of. I ended up blocking him. He'd be running like blatant scams, and I called him out on it. I was like, "This is not a Ponzi scheme. It was like multi-level. What do you call that? Multi-level marketing.
Oh, like
a pyramid scheme.
Yeah.
And then he was like, he's like, well, everything's a pyramid scheme. I'm like, yeah, but this also is.
Right, like because everything's a pyramid scheme, you're gonna be like, oh, okay,
like,
here you go. I'll give you my money.
It's like you're also some random comic I know. Like,
right.
Like,
like, you know what? I'll play the banking system's pyramid scheme because I don't have enough money where it can really affect.
Yeah,
me.
but at least
like,
with banking, it's insured.
Yeah, exactly. Well, a certain amount.
Yeah.
That's what I say. I don't have
Ain't no amount that I got.
You're a billionaire, then it gets dangerous.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. All right, what was that? What the hell was I talking about?
That's why I like Bitcoin, and I like
Bitcoin.
what Elon Musk is doing. Like, I like that he's.
Why do you prefer that? Why do you think it's different?
Because it's not based on this same system of like paper money and it's not regulated by the government. Like, it's not. It's regulated by people, basically. Like, the more people invest in it, the more it's worth. And once you have a billionaire like Elon Musk invest in it and then tweet about it and then actually make it a currency that he lets people use to buy his stuff, like, he's making this a real thing. But you can do that with anything in life. He can invent his own money. Like, rich people can literally do that. They can say, like, yo, you know what? Now I only accept rocks for paint. You gotta have the best. You gotta have the best stones.
I mean, that's basically what they did with diamonds.
Exactly, right. And diamonds aren't rare.
No.
They are not rare. They aren't rare.
They just sparkle.
But they got everybody thinking they are. It's crazy. Just because they shiny.
Elon Musk is crazy to me. He's like David Bowie CEO. It's like just kind of a lot of weird shit.
He's a psycho.
Yeah, man, they're all crazy. All right, so I was talking about the money laundering and the vocab layering placement. So that was a very academic version of it, but I also have a dialogue from Breaking Bad where Better Call Saul himself kind of breaks it down in his own shady.
I remember that scene.
His fake Jewish character. He's like Polish or something. He's pretending to be Jewish. But
right.
So I'm gonna play that scene.
You know you need to launder your money, right? Do you understand the basics of it? Placement, layering, integration.
I ain't buying no damn nail salon, so just forget it.
Well, you want to stay out of jail, don't you? I mean, you want to keep your money and your freedom. Because I got 3 little letters for you, IRS. If they can get Capone, they can get you. Hey, look. Here's you, right? Pinkman, get it? Okay. Here's your cash. You're out on the town. Yeah, you're partying hardy. You're knocking boots with the chickie babes. And, who's this? It's the tax man. And he's looking at you. Now, what does he see? He sees a young fella with a big fancy house, unlimited cash supply, and no job. Now, what is the conclusion the tax man makes?
I'm a drug dealer.
Wrong. 1,000,000 times worse. You're a tax cheat. What do? They take every penny, and you go in the can for felony tax evasion. Ouch! What was your mistake? You didn't launder your money. Now, you give me your money, okay? That's called placement. Hand me that little thing, Ben. This is the nail salon, right? I take your dirty money and I slip it into the salon's nice, clean cash flow. That's called layering. Final step, integration. The revenues from the salon go to the owner. That's you. Your filthy drug money has been transformed into nice, clean, taxable income brought to you by a savvy investment in a thriving business.
So you want me to buy this place so I can pay taxes? I'm a criminal, yo.
Yeah, and if you want to stay a criminal and not become, say, a convict, then maybe you should grow up and listen to your lawyer.
He's such a wild lawyer. He's like, you go meet with him, and he's like, oh, here's some other crimes you should be committing. It's like,
right.
He's like, you're not committing enough crimes. You got to step it up.
You do. Right.
He's the wildest lawyer ever. But you can hear him using the conditional a lot in that dialogue. He says, if they can get Capone, they can get you. You know, if you want to stay a criminal, then you need to launder your money.
Mm-hmm. Whenever I see one of these ironic arcades pop up, like, oh, we're building a new arcade, I always assume whoever the owner is laundering money. Because I don't give a fuck what you're doing. If you build an arcade in 2021, nobody's going to come there. Everybody got PlayStation 5s and online and iPhones. So I always assume that. And then whenever you go to these ironic arcades, there's literally 5 people in there. So there's something going on here. You see what I'm saying? I don't think that these people are trying to bring the 80s and 90s back.
Businesses.
I think that these are somebody that's, there's somebody that's like, oh, okay, I can say that 110 people come to my arcade every day and they all spend $100 a piece, and this is where I can say I'm making my money.
I used to run an open mic in a barcade. It was
really,
it was a struggle.
I'm sure.
Noise. We'd have to shut down the skee ball because they would play skee ball in the middle of the show. Skee ball loud as fuck. So we was like, you can't play skee ball. They would start playing Galaga. There was like a Galaga that was right next to the stage, and somebody would walk up there and start playing Galaga in the middle of somebody's set, and then they'd hear how loud it is, and they would be like, "Oh, I'm sorry," but some people just like, "I came here to play Galaga."
Yeah, just power through everybody's set playing.
Loud as fuck. It's like.
That's almost as bad. I don't know if you remember at the beginning of the pandemic when I tried to get an open mic started at a strip club.
No, you really.
Yeah, yo, because I was tired of it being no open. We was 2 months. We was like 2 months into the pandemic, and I'm like,
shit about that too.
What did I? Yo, every open micer that wasn't my friend basically hopped under my thing and was like, "Yo, are you fucking retarded? You want to go? You want us to do open mic somewhere where there's way more germs? Like, are you stupid?"
That's crazy. All right, we're gonna wrap this up in a little bit.
Well, this was fun. I'm having fun.
So, last thing I wanted to talk about, I kind of skipped something, and we'll kind of go back to The Wire.
Yeah.
One was, if you remember the last season, you see that Marlo ends up accomplishing what Stringer was trying to do.
For sure. Yep.
And but it seems to be like not taking. He can't. Remember, he leaves the cocktail party, immediately goes outside and starts like punching on random dudes on the block. He got shot, and he's like tasting the blood. He's like,
hell yeah.
He's like a wild. He can't leave the streets alone. So he's like Money Mitch in that sense, where he's like, I gotta do this.
Yeah, he was a beast. He was a beast.
Yeah, he was definitely a psychopath. But yeah. But so he accomplishes that. He kind of finds a way to kind of launder himself with that shady lawyer. But it's like, it's kind of clear that it's like he's not going to be able to stay in it.
I always had I had the feeling that he wanted to die in the street. Like, he wanted that to be his glory. Like, he didn't want to go to prison. He didn't want, he wanted to die. Because like you said, that same scene you're talking about, he walks up to these street drug dealers and basically just walks up on them and was like, "Hey, what the fuck are you looking at?" And the kid was minding his business.
It's a death wish, yeah.
Yeah, he was minding his own business. And then, he got what he wanted, but it still was, like I said, he proved to himself basically that, and I think the beauty in that scene is that he starts something with these 2 corner drug dealers. He throws a punch, the guy shoots at him, drops the gun, they run off, and he looks at the ground. And it's kind of like a Grand Theft Auto moment where, like, I beat this guy up, and look at me now. I got this fucking gun. Now I can start to fucking run the world because I got a gun. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's one of the things where he proved to himself, like, yeah, this is why I'm here. This is why I'm this guy. Look at what I just did.
He almost pulled like the gangster version of like the old guy who like walks onto the court like, let me get a jumper in. Let me let me shoot a couple niggas real quick.
Yeah, right.
I still got it.
And just start nailing them right. Look at me, still got it.
Let me see that piece, young cannon. Y'all don't know what y'all doing out here.
Right.
That's funny. The other thing is I kind of skipped over this was from the dialogue with Avon and Stringer, and basically, what's the big dude's name? Slim? Was that his name?
Slim Charles.
Slim Charles. So Slim Charles, he's like, I don't know, man. Like, He's like, I'm down for murder, but this is some straight up assassination shit. So he's like making
Right.
a distinction between, he's like, I'll kill some dudes on the block if that's what you want, but you talking about real heat. And so Avon goes into more detail about it. He's like, you know, downtown Clay Davis, you kill somebody like that, people are going to pay attention.
For sure.
So he basically trying to do, he's like, I tried to do the legit thing and it didn't work, so now I'm going to go back to do some gangster shit. Which 100%. Was, remember Joe Pesci's character did the same thing in Casino. Remember he was slapping the banker around in, it was like, give my fucking money. So you can't hit that guy. He's a legitimate guy. But there's that. I like that distinction between shot and being killed, murder and assassination, because it reminded me of a Chris Rock bit. I'm sure you remember this bit. I'm gonna play it real quick.
You make the shit bigger than it is. Shit's big, but don't make it bigger than it is. I'm watching the news and like Tupac Shakur was assassinated. Biggie Smalls assassinated. Struck down by assassins, bullets assassinated. Like, no, they wasn't. Martin Luther King was assassinated. Malcolm X was assassinated. John F. Kennedy was assassinated. Them two niggas got shot.
So you can see where he makes a distinction between, you know, random street people and people who are like politically affiliated. So he's like, that's not murder, that's assassination. It's got different consequences.
100%. Some of my favorite jokes revolve around death. That's a great joke. That's hilarious. That is hilarious. I mean, it is true. Like, yeah, they got fucking, they got shot.
They was doing street shit.
That is something that street guys do make a distinction between. You can't handle everybody with the same fucking gloves, you know? Like, it's a different thing. That's crazy.
There's something, Chris Cotton used to have a joke, and I used to think about this when you're talking about white people coming to the ghetto and being afraid of getting robbed. He's like, ain't nobody gonna rob you. You gonna fuck everybody's money up.
Right,
people won't be able to make any money for a month trying to rob you. Whoever robbed you gonna disappear.
That's 100% true. I remember some guy in my old neighborhood had robbed a Temple student, and the cops was on his ass. And it basically was some shit where guys that was above him was like, "Yo, go turn yourself in. Like, you gotta get the fuck out of here."
Too much heat.
Yeah, way too much. The cops around here parked on every corner now. Like, you gotta leave. You gotta go. So that's a real thing.
What was it? I learned this phrase one time from this video. It was like, I still don't know if I'm using it correctly, but it'd be like busting traps.
Yeah. It
was like, that's like when you're like selling drugs too obviously and you're attracting police attention.
That's how it started out. But then people turn busting the trap into any type of selling anything at any time. Even if it's not obvious, you busting the trap.
Oh,
even if it's in the sneakers, you busting the trap. But they did start out like that. Like, oh yeah, if you on Broad Street selling drugs, meet somebody to do this, you busting the trap. Like, the cops gonna ride by any second.
Yeah, I saw a video. It was like, this guy was like obviously like selling drugs to somebody in his car, and this guy comes out and he's like, yo, what'd I tell you about busting traps around here? And then he just slaps this dude like into the alleyway. So funny.
You gonna make it hot for everybody. You can't do that. It's crazy that joke you said about Chris Cotton, because one day, me and Drew, shout out to Drew Montana, we were somewhere, and I forget what the hell we was doing. He said something about getting robbed, and I'm like, and see, I have a good street antenna. Like, I know when shit is popping off, I know when shit gonna go down, and I know where I am. And I told you, I said, dog, they more likely to rob me than you, because you look like you a white boy. You might be a drug addict coming around to cop something. I'm just a nigga in the wrong neighborhood. You see what I'm saying? Like, they don't know who I am. They don't know where I came from. They don't. And also, we saw a car ride by that didn't have a license plate or had no plate in the back. And I told him, we by the time we got to Diamond Street, I was like, yo, I said, how much you want to bet on the way back we going to see 20, 30 cop cars rushing up the block? He's like, why you say that? I said, because we just saw a tinted up car with no license plate on it. They about to go shoot somebody. That's why they don't have a plate on, because if they get in the chase or if any cameras pick them up,
they can get away.
Right. And literally, we went to Ned Arnold and Lemaire's house.
Yeah.
And as soon as we left and came back within the next 5-10 minutes, 20, 30 cars, just come flying up the block.
It's like a crazy risk to take because it's like that no license plate. They catch that no license plate, they're going to pull you over and then you got all them guns in the car.
Right, exactly. Yeah, it's a crazy. But what's the crazy? Well, it's risk assessment then because you rather just take the gun charge than get caught on camera after you murder somebody.
I guess that makes sense. Yeah.
It's
like a little fail safe.
Which risk are you want to take? You know.
How you doing, copper? You got you. That's funny. Thank you, officer. Saved me from making some bad decisions tonight.
Right.
All right. I think, did they ever get somebody on attempted murder for being on their way to kill somebody? It was in transit.
Yo, I doubt unless they had like went through their cell phone and saw like text messages.
He's like,
I seriously doubt it. Because let's say they pull you over, you got 3 guns in the car, no license plate. They find a ski mask. They probably find some rope or something. Let's just say they don't know what you were about to do. Like, no. They don't know. All they can say is they might think that you were about to kill somebody, but you didn't even get a chance to shoot at anybody. So what can they say?
I watching these old documentaries about serial killers, and like back in the day, they used to pull people over, and they have all kinds of rope and pipes and shit in their car. And they're like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "I'm building a pulley," and it would be like, "Fine." They'd be like, "All right, we'll see you later." 5 years later, that they got killed 60 people. You can't drive around with pipes and rope in your car anymore. Like you can't. They ruined that.
Oh no, yeah, that's over. That's over. And see, what was going on in like the 60s and 70s?
They just
were so many serial killers.
I think it was. I think people were living the car. I think it was the car.
What? Like
everybody had cars. You could drive around and kill people in different areas and get out of there.
Oh yeah, true.
Before then, you had to murder somebody, you had to have like a place where you murdered people and disappeared them there.
That's true.
But when people started, when they built, it was the highways. Because I was watching this documentary about the Ripper, not the Jack the Ripper, but it was like a new Ripper in like the 70s.
Yeah.
And they said, this style of murder appeared after they started connecting all the towns with highways. So now these killers could move around to different towns, kill somebody, go to another town, and really kind of circulate.
Right. And if it's unrelated people, that's hard to track down.
But it's like now, if you wanted to be a serial killer, you had to go to like serial killer kindergarten.
Oh, like for sure.
You had to, because like you can't make that decision 18 after you'd already been relying on Google Maps and Facebook and Instagram your whole life.
Right.
You can't move on to serial killing now. You didn't check in every using you deposit all your paychecks on your phone.
Yeah, no, you got to be completely off the grid to do that.
Yeah, man, you can't do that.
Yeah, no, that's impossible. I also heard this theory about like the lead and gas, and that was making people go crazy. So like now, we got unleaded gasoline. Back then, it was lead in the gasoline, and they believed because people was breathing that in, some people was fucking with their brains.
I don't know. I think it was just. I think it's like a democratization of murder, is what it did.
Yeah.
With the cars, and it's just the same thing with like crack. Before crack, if you wanted to sell drugs, you had to meet up with some Italian guy. You had to get permission.
For sure.
From an organization, but crack just kind of turned it into like, it was like Uber for drugs. Like anybody could get.
Right.
You just got to download the app and you so it became. So that created chaos.
Anybody could do it.
That was the thing that I noticed. So when I was reading about this thing, money laundering did not become illegal till 1986. Is what they're saying.
Uh-huh.
So it was like literally until niggas started making too much money, they was like, all right, we gotta shut this down. Right. It's like the same thing with the GameStop thing. These rich people been playing them tricks with stocks and speculation, and so all of a sudden, regular people was doing it. They was like, "Oh, this is over."
Yeah, you can't do that now. It's illegal. That's with anything, though. I think anything that poor people start doing, like not even just black people in particular, if poor people get hit to something, it's over. They shut that down. They shutting that down.
That's interesting because I was watching returning to Ozarks. I'm calling it Ozarks again. So Ozark is in its simplest form, it's a show about this accountant who's laundering money for his drug cartel in the Ozarks in Missouri. But if you really break down the characters in the show, you see how the characters are in different groups.
Yeah.
So there's the family, right? They're this liberal white family from Chicago.
Right.
Then you have, the cartel, these violent Mexican gangsters. And then you have their intermediaries, which is basically that one lawyer woman.
Yeah.
Who's like closer to what the birds are, except she's kind of apolitical.
Yeah, for sure.
Then you have the Langmores, who are these poor ass white trash people.
The fucking psycho.
Yeah. And then there is what's the people's name? The heroin, people's growing heroin.
Oh,
the Snells.
Yeah.
So the Snells, they're these old style hillbillies, right?
Yeah. Super psycho.
Yeah. Who are like, but it's like these very different demographics of people who would not be working together, but this because there's so much money pooling in, coming from the cartels, it's forcing all these people who really would not be able to deal with each other, and they can't deal with each other, is what the drama is. But the money is kind of forcing them to have to do business with each other.
100%. That's what's the Snells. What's the woman's name?
I hate her so. I can't.
She's so scary to me. She's one of the scariest.
I hate her. She's so unreasonable.
She's so. But you know what? One of my biggest fears is extreme ignorant people, because those are the scariest people in the world. Because you can't reason.
It's like you're dealing with a wild dog.
Sense into them. Yes, exactly. A wild dog, but that's just intelligent enough to be sneaky enough to kill you if they wanted to. And that's, to me, those are the scary. Like, I can
half cat, half dog.
right. Like I can interact with Philly ignorant, unreasonable people because I grew up around some of them.
Yeah.
I have some of them in my family. I know what buttons to push and what to stay away from. But when you go to other places, it's like you could say one wrong word.
Yeah.
And then that's just it for you. She's the scariest character on there to me, period. Like, she's so scary.
My cousin took me to this boat. Not a boat. It was like this party. It was like at a house. It was in the middle of the woods. It was just really wet for some reason. It wasn't a boat. But it was like a house party out in the woods somewhere. And it was all these people from the town that my family's from, which is Oxford, Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
And so I had put my phone down for something because I was like dancing or something. And then I go look for my phone and it's gone. So I'm like, because I'm talking to my cousin Teddy, and I'm like, yo, my phone is gone. And he was like, oh, well.
Right.
They got you. And I was like, I need that phone. And he's like, I think he kind of understood what was going to happen, but he's like, you just going to learn this lesson yourself. So I was like, I turned around, I said, hey, my phone's missing. Does anybody have my phone? That was all I said.
Mm-hmm.
You ever seen the movie, what was it? About the bouncer at the bar in Texas. You know, Patrick Swayze, Roadhouse.
Oh, yeah, Roadhouse. Yeah.
Remember the fights from Roadhouse?
Yeah.
Throwing people through windows and chairs and tables and shit?
Hell yeah.
It was like, one person was like, all I said was like, does anybody have my phone? And I was like, I ain't take your fucking phone. And then somebody else said, I bet you did take it, motherfucker. And then they started fighting. And then everybody started fighting. And it was like out in the middle. Them people might still be fighting out there. And so me and my cousin, we had to jump in the car and like reverse out of there. Because I was like going up to people who I was hanging out with that night. I was like, hey man, why are y'all fighting? We were just talking. And they were like, this guy, I think he was like army raging. He like punched me in the forehead. And he was like, I'll fucking kill you. Like, And so my cousin Teddy was like, we gotta get out of here. So we jump in the car and take off. So we were riding back. I was like, Teddy, what happened? He was like, you gotta understand, man. Them people was just waiting.
Oh, for sure.
They was just waiting for something to fight about.
Listen, anything that would have pushed that button, they were going to do it. They were going to fight. Anything that, I've seen, I'm not going to name no names, but one of these people is in my family.
Yeah.
And one of these people is my friend. And my friend pulled up on a block in North Philly, and he had just bought a gun. He had just bought a shotgun.
Yeah.
And all he was doing was showing it to me. He was like, he popped his trunk, pulls it out, like, look what I just got. So I'm like, oh, damn, that joint nice. My cousin pulls out a pistol and basically puts it under his chin and is like, what the fuck is you doing? What you bluffing? What you trying? And when he was saying by you bluffing, he like, what you trying to scare somebody?
Yeah.
Is that why you pulling this out? And it's like, no. He was just showing me something he just purchased. That's all he was doing.
Yeah.
And it's like, had I not been there or had I not spoke fast enough, my friend could have got killed for that. Just for doing something that simple. Like, I just bought this new thing.
He's like, I gotta know.
Look, I'm showing you.
That's wild.
It's crazy.
White people will just they'll just show their guns to each other. This is my gun. This is your gun.
Right.
You got a gun? You want to see my gun? You want to see my gun room?
Right. You do that in the wrong black neighborhood. You might get shot. What you trying to do? You think you trying to scare somebody around here? No. I'm just showing you something I got.
I would think this is just my perspective. If I don't own any guns, but if I had a gun, I would not take it anywhere unless I was planning on using it.
Right. Yeah, that's it.
And I wouldn't be showing it to people unless. So I think that's why your boy, why he reacted that way. He's like, why would you be in my neighborhood showing this gun? Like, that's not
a normal thing.
Yeah.
And I agree with that because, like I told my friend, I'm like, you could have waited until I got home. Yeah, that's ignorant people.
Yeah, that's what it is. Me and my cousin almost died in a NBA Live tournament.
Right.
We was playing NBA Live with my cousin, John, and he had this friend of his that he hung out with. And we didn't know at the time. I found out later. After my cousin had changed his life and he moved out. And I went to go see him and his family, his new family. And I was like, whatever happened to such and such? You still hang out with him? He was like, are you crazy? Can't hang with that nigga no more. He's a killer. And I was like, what? I was like, you had us hanging out with him all the time. We was 15. We was around this dude all the time. And I immediately flashed back to this time. We was having an NBA Live tournament. And my cousin Teddy beat the dude, my cousin's friend. And we were getting ready to move into the next round. And so Teddy go to grab the sticks. And this dude, what are you doing? And he's like, I'm about to play my cousin. He won, I won. This is the championship round. He's like, nah, man, you ain't beat me.
Oh.
I don't know what you talking about.
He changed reality.
Yeah.
He switched reality.
And so my cousin Teddy, he thinking it's just he's high and drunk and confused. So he's like, no, dude, don't you remember I beat you? I beat you by 15. I was playing as this and this. My cousin is behind his friend, and he's going, nah, let it go. Just let it go. Because he was that type of dude.
Yeah. No, listen, you got to be weird. Those type of people that tell you didn't see something that you obviously saw, don't argue with that. Just leave. Just be like, all right, you right. Just walk away. I've been in a couple of them situations too. You got to just, you know, you right, man. All right, I'll catch y'all tomorrow. And just be out. There's no reason to even, don't even argue.
There's nothing to win.
That's what listen, extremely ignorant people, dog. That's my biggest fear. That's my hugest fear. Listen, I don't give a fuck about a shark because I ain't going to be in the ocean. You see what I'm saying? I don't give a fuck about no tiger because I ain't going to be in the jungle. But an extremely ignorant person, a person that's just like, they got their code that they live by and they're not breaking that at all. And you can't reason with them. That's the scariest shit ever.
Yeah, it's interesting. All right. So I think we can wrap this up. I just wanted to, first of all, thank you for talking with me. This was fun. It's a good convo. But then let me know, what are you promoting? You got anything coming up?
Oh, yeah. So I'm promoting. All right. So look, I got follow me on Instagram, Naeem2_Ali, and Twitter, same thing. I got a show Friday in Delaware at Bar 13.
Oh, we both doing that show.
Yeah, we both on that. So come see me and Brandon. You see us do this in real life.
Yeah. So that's Lovable Monsters at Bar 13 in Claymont.
Damn right. And then I got Uncultured Comedy. That's March 12th. Come check me out there. And then tune into The Ramble with Naeem Ali. That's one podcast. Tune into Do Regular Deer Tag with me and Drew Montana. That's my other podcast. Then tune into Three Boys One Pod. That's a podcast with like me and my friends.
Yeah.
And come catch our vibe.
You got your podcast segregated. You got your white friend podcast. You got your black friend podcast.
And then I got the one with just me where I decompress and talk about how difficult it is to deal with white and black people at the same time.
It could be long. All right, so follow Naeem on Instagram. You said Naeem's Ali
2_Ali
2_Ali. You can follow me, BJax Comedy, on Twitter. Please subscribe to the podcast if you really enjoyed it. Leave a review. I like 5 stars. It looks good. So leave a review. If you have any suggestions for topics, you can send that out. And check the links in the description. There's some links to some of the videos and resources. Thank you, and good night.
Yes.